Ivan Andres. I'm the Deputy Head of Research and Policy for the Center for Energy, Ecology, and Development. Background of my profession, I guess I'll give a background of my organization. So SEED is a think-do institution, and we conduct research and policy, and we partner with communities to push for an ecologically just and people-centered energy sector and development path. So we're a civil society organization, non-government organization. We're non-profit, and we strive to push for these advocacies, and we like I mentioned, we partner with different communities and as well as different organizations pushing for similar advocacies. um yeah, I've been working in the environmental sector for about 4 years now.
In your given profession, what is climate change?
Climate change is the very rapid and unusual, we could say, out of the ordinary increase or decrease of temperature, global temperature. In our movement, we call it a climate crisis. We call it climate crisis because it merits, because of the immediate danger that we're seeing. It merits immediate response from our governance, as well as pooled response or collective response coming from all nations in the world.
What are the factors that greatly contribute to climate change?
The reason for climate change, the reason for global warming, are anthropogenic activities or human-induced activities. So everywhere you look, if you start na and anywhere you look, that's human activity. So from our cars, from the transport sector, from the commercial industries, from the power plants that we build, from even in our very own households where we use fossil fuels for cooking. All of these activities created by us, anthropogenic activities, release a certain amount of emissions. And these emissions are contribute to what we call the global warming effect or the greenhouse effect, which traps the heat in our atmosphere, creating for a rise of temperature globally.
What devices or technology or methods are used to mitigate the effects of climate change?
To name a few of the devices or ways to mitigate the emissions, for power plants, they have electrostatic precipitators. They have sulfur absorbers, scrub at or take away from the emissions and reduce the emissions being released in the atmosphere. For the power sector, we can look at renewable energy. So renewable energy, as opposed to fossil fuels, do not emit greenhouse gas emissions, as well as they don't use fossil fuels. So definitely, if we were to transition into a renewable energy dependent power sector, then we could see a very rapid and drastic decline in greenhouse gas emissions. For the transport sector, of course, we're developing the electronic vehicles. So much like renewable energies, if an automobile is not using fossil fuels like oil, gas, and diesel, then it would not emit greenhouse gas emissions.
What is your stance or perspective on the urgency of the Philippine government in the manifestation of climate change in our country?
We should be doing utmost effort, especially in part for the national government, to do the best that we can as a country to mitigate the climate crisis. If we see through a future where it's reliant on renewable energy, if we see through a future that is less carbon intensive, less carbon footprint, then definitely we can do our part in order to reduce the contribution of our country to the climate crisis.